Welcome to Tabletop Gaming with Juice. I'm Juice, and this video is probably going to be the most useful player tip I could come up with for anybody. Normally, I don't do a lot of these types of videos, but I'm going to do it. And the reasoning is because I've been thinking about a lot of stuff. So before I get into the tip, I'm going to just briefly explain what kind of brought this up and made me want to do this video. You guys have seen me in the Provokers campaigns, and you've seen me in other live plays online. You know, I've played in David Freehan's Maze of Mandoon. I've played in SR2 Joker's. I don't remember what it was. It was a long time ago. Something about we were in a desert. That's all I remember. Probably remember it because of Posey's character bringing a horse with it everywhere. So anyways, and I've ran some games online. So the thing that kind of brought this up is I was in a live chat over the weekend. I was actually in a few. And there was a moment where I was just talking about stuff with people and was telling them my thoughts that I had last week sometime about wanting to get better. You know, for instance, in the Provokers game, I probably, you know, when I watched back the first episode last week, I was like, you know, I could have done a lot better. You know, it's a good campaign. It's a lot of fun, and everybody is excellent. But Barker really stands out to me, you know, and the reason he stands out to me is he puts a lot of flavor into his descriptions and, you know, all sorts of stuff. I mean, he's had poems that he's recited. He's, you know, all sorts of excellent stuff from Barker, for example. And, you know, I feel like I need to up my game. I need to get better. Do I ever think I'll be as good as Barker? Who knows? Probably not, but I can still put in the work and try to be better. So he's inspired me. And there's been other great people who have inspired me. Philip Posey has inspired me with some of the characters and how deep he's gotten in with his descriptions in games. You know, so those two really, because I've seen a few of their games recently. I've gone back and watched videos, and it just made me realize I need to do a better job. You know, and you know, I hear from people all the time, oh, you do great, and you know, I love your games and love Brasswick and love your characters, but I see the room for improvement, and so I want to improve. So with that said, I was thinking, you know, all the time as a DM that a lot of people spend prepping. You know, they sit there and, you know, it varies depending on who you ask. For my one-shots, I usually wing most of it. I come up with a general idea of like 2-3 encounters, and then I throw the players in a start somewhere and try to fudge how they're going to get to that spot, and it usually works out. In my at-home campaign, I try to put a little more thought into it. I actually think about my at-home campaigns all the time. The amount of time I actually sit down and put pen to paper, though, maybe 2-3 hours. That doesn't count crafting things. You know, and most of that time is jotting down what the encounters that I think they'll, you know, come across. And sometimes it's just world building for the campaign. So I looked at it that way. If I put 2 to 3 hours into each game every session, you know, that's quite a bit of time. And something I was thinking about too was that players, you know, no one ever says, well, how much time does a player spend prepping? Because most people don't. I've never done it. And I've done videos before about how players should know and understand their character's abilities, their spells, things like that, because I don't like things to get bogged down in game. Well, it's the same thing with a DM or a GM. When you're playing your game, things can get bogged down by them not knowing the monster stats or having something prepared. You know, now they got to look to the book, you know, to pull a monster stats, which I just wing. I would wing it anyway, and you would never know. But some people feel the need to pull up the monster stats and things like that. But this video goes beyond that. not only am I asking for players to understand their abilities, and spells and skills and creative ways to use those, but when I was talking in the chat the other day, I thought to myself, well, I thought this before that, but why not spend 15 minutes as a player, write down, a couple good descriptions. For example, your guy uses an axe, write down 3 different ways he could swing his axe in a flavorful way. Maybe you have a spell that you are most likely to use when you're in combat. Explain it in 2 different ways. Maybe from the grabbing the material components, or the way you clutch your arcane focus or whatever, but give like a little, just 1 sentence or 2 sentences about how you use it. It doesn't have to be anything long and drawn out. Just grab a thesaurus and switch up a couple words just to make it feel different, even though it's the exact same thing. Just some flavor stuff. You could do the same thing with like quotes. You could write a couple different quotes that you might want to try and use in that session. And if you do this 10 to 15 minutes before every game, 1, you're going to get more into your character, I think, which will help with winging things and things like that. 2, you're going to acquire a list of things you can use for future games. Because in 2 sessions, why not go back to using the same description you used before? Chances are it's going to be enough time has passed that no one's going to remember, and then you still have variance in the ways you do different things. And you can add things in there, depending on your DM and stuff like that. You could say, I look, you're engaged with this bugbear. The bugbear swings at me, and I look for an opening under his arm to jab, my sword into his ribs. Now does the DM actually have to roll to hit with the bugbear? No, this is just flavor, that's all it is. And it's painting a picture for a way for you to do something like swing an axe, so it's not just you saying every time, yeah, I'm going to swing my axe, I rolled a 16, I rolled an 18, I swing my axe again. Adding some different flavor with every single time you do it that mixes it up, I think will make your games a lot more enjoyable. And all I'm asking is 10 minutes. Just write down a couple different things, maybe 2 or 3 descriptions on how you use each weapon. 2 sentences, 3 sentences. Maybe if your DM is the type that allows you to do kill shots or describe how you take out the enemy, maybe you write a couple different ways you would take out the enemy with that weapon. Maybe a spell, same thing. You write out a few different ways you could use it to destroy your enemy. Or creative uses. Maybe there's another thing. Maybe for each spell you have, you write 2 creative uses. So, for example, Posey in the SR2 Joker game that we played in, where we were on another plane, we were being chased by a rust monster Hydra, and we were running, jumped across the bridge, and he used not chill touch. The other one, I can't think of what it was now. It's Ray of Frost. He used Ray of Frost on the ground to ice it over, and so the rust monster slid into the chasm. Now, some people didn't like that because that's basically a grease spell. Grease spell uses up slots, and it's not a cantrip. But point is, it was a creative use of a spell. I would have allowed it. If your DMs would allow it, but try to think of creative uses for your spells. I think it also can make games a lot of fun. So just write down, 2 things each. Obviously, you don't know what your scenarios or situations are going to be in. But again, if you do this every session, you're going to have all sorts of different things, within 3-4 sessions that you can go to and be like, oh, okay, boom, this is my ability. Boom, I can do it like this. Boom. And eventually you might not even have to write stuff down because you're going to remember all these creative things and different things. And it's just going to make you a better player. So that's my tip for today is, as a player, spend 15 minutes prepping before a session, maybe an hour before the session or before you go to your game night. Just sit down and on 1 blank sheet of paper, At the top, maybe you write your different weapons, and then at the bottom you write your spells, and boom, boom, boom. So you just write down everything you would do. Maybe you don't have spells, and that'll make it a little easier. But if you don't have spells, put a little bit more into your weapons, but spend the full 15 minutes just writing down different things. Like I said, quotes can be fun. I know I personally like it when, players are fighting a monster and, they're talking a little smack with every hit. And not every time, but every now and then, like, oh, yeah, is that the best you got? Well, take this or whatever. So there's a lot of good things you can do. So, again, players, know your stuff. And by knowing your stuff, I think it'll make it easier in game to do different things. Player prep, often overlooked, trying to make it a new thing. Give it a shot and see how it works. If you do this, I'd love to hear your thoughts below. And yeah, so be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share your experiences with this. Let me know if you've tried this, or if this is something you think is a good idea, or maybe you think it's a bad idea. I don't know why, but I'd love to hear your comments. Be sure to go check out the rpgjuice.com. We have blog over there, tutorials for the one-shot group, a one-shot group t-shirt, soon to have a new item in the store, a t-shirt. I'll probably do sweatshirts for it as well, but that's a surprise. You'll probably find out about that one later this month. Also, I have a Patreon account. Feel free to go check that out. But really, Facebook, Twitter, go and follow me on those. You'll get all the latest stuff on, me, the one-shot group, the website, all of that in those two places. So again, Tabletop Gaming with Juice over on those two. That's it. Hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.